Welcome to the Belief Breakthrough Show, where we believe that you can achieve the life you dream of simply through shifting your perspective and breaking through your limiting beliefs. With your host, Tina Encarnacion, the author of Stuck in the Fire, a story of resilience, trauma and abuse coach, an energy healer, and Reiki master. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in on another episode of the Belief Breakthrough Show. I am so excited to have you here. We are going to be discussing burnout today. And if you are a woman, I am positive that you have at some point in your life hit burnout. Today we have Sarah. She is a burnout expert. And you guys, if anyone knows the deep, dark, dirty secrets of burnout, it is Sarah. She has gone through the fire and she has crawled out through the ashes, you guys. She is an international award-winning speaker. She is an author. She is a burnout expert and coach. She helps with mental clarity, with mental health. You guys, she was ready to take her own life due to burnout and stress. And God blessed her with an angel through the physical presence of a dying orphan who changed her life. I am so excited for Sarah to share her journey with all of us and open up our eyes and help us to shift our beliefs so that we are able to kick burnout in its butt and never look back. Sarah, please tell us all about what you've been through and how you got to where you're at today.
Thank you, Tina, and thank you for having me. So my journey, I think I had probably always been on a course for burnout. I like to call it a corporate junkie. So I chased every promotion, pay rise, position, title, office, you name it, I would chase it. And if I wasn't getting it in one company, I would move to another company to make sure that I just kept moving up and up. And got to that level where I'm traveling the world. I'm always, I have that Instagram life that people go, oh my goodness, you're so lucky. And I was like, yeah, I was traveling business class. I usually had champagne in my hand. And the truth was, it was fun, but I wasn't looking after myself. I spent more time on a plane and in hotels than I did at my home. I didn't, my housekeeper would actually make sure that there was bread and milk in my house if I got home on a Friday night, because I would pretty much never be there. She practically ran my life. And my body started to give me some signals that things weren't quite right. I would pick up a sinus infection, a cold, it wouldn't go away. And then I started to get migraines again. So I'd had them before. They were like once a year. And then suddenly they're once a month. So that pain that makes you stop is there every single month, almost like clockwork. And during the same period, my partner was incredibly stressed at his job. And so I left my dream job, the one with all the traveling and culture and all this, to take a desk job so that I could support him. 4 months later, after he's cheated on me with my best friend, lied to me numerous times, he actually left me. And so now, not only am I struggling with the migraines, I'm doing a job I hate, and I'm grieving the loss of my relationship. And I did the one thing that most of us do. It's like, I need to fill my time. I don't want to have time to think. I don't want to be thinking about the fact that I'm now single. So I work even harder. And my boss loves it. Here's more projects. Here's more work. And actually what I needed was to stop and completely rethink. But I didn't. And so the migraines go from one a month to once every couple of weeks, once a week. And by the time I got to that kind of breaking point, I was having them 25 days a month.
Ouch.
So I barely left my home. I barely left my bedroom. I was taking a lot of painkillers. And when you're in a room, it's dark, you're just waiting for the pain to stop, your internal chatter has a field day. because suddenly you're listening to it. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I'm disappointing people. What is the point of me being around? People would be better off if I wasn't here. And this goes on for months, until just before my 37th birthday, or just after my 37th birthday, I decided I didn't really see a point of seeing my 38th. So I had left my corporate job with a big chunk of money. I said, you know what? There are still things I would like to do, my bucket list. I want to go and see friends. I want to go and say my goodbyes. I don't want anyone to know that's what I'm doing. But I don't see a point to being here anymore. And so I chose the date. My expiry date was the 31st of January, 2015. Now, one of the things I had always wanted to do was go and volunteer. And I had gone and done a short placement kind of around about the time I made that decision. And I had found a place in Vietnam, an orphanage for disabled children, where I was at peace. It was quiet. I could relax. There was no expectation, you know. The biggest task was to make sure everyone was fed, or that everyone got some watermelon if we bought them in the market. There was no, you must deliver a budget, or this training must be delivered. You know, it was really back to basics in the village. You know, if we had water, if we had hot water every day, that was a good day. If we had Wi-Fi, you know, all the things we take for granted, over there, we were back to real basics. And the first couple of months that I'm there, now, the period that I'm there is going to take me up to that date. So it's like, I'm going to give out all the love that's in my heart, because I can still hug and play and color things in and build Lego towers and play catch. All of that I can still do. And I'm not a failure here. But I'm in this really dark place. So I'm not particularly nice to be around. And so I isolate more and more from even the other volunteers. But something makes me think, well, if it's going to be my last Christmas, I should be Santa Claus. In a country that doesn't celebrate Christmas and don't know who Father Christmas is, my kind of one gift was, you know what? I'm going to dress up as Santa, and I'm going to give them sweets and chocolates and hugs and everything. But I was pretty sure that the stumbling block was going to be the fact that I'm 5'10" and fairly big. And the fact that I couldn't even buy shorts or a t-shirt in the market made finding a Santa outfit probably not the most likely thing that was going to happen. But then there it is. There's a whole street called Christmas Street. And it's like a pop-up. It pops up for 6 weeks just before Christmas in a country that doesn't celebrate Christmas. It just still boggles me to this day. But I find the complete outfit. Wig, beard, hat, full outfit. It's like, okay, I'm going to be Santa Claus. And so I spent the day doing Santa stuff. I gave kids sweets and hugs, and, you know, they pulled my beard. I lost my hat. I spent the afternoon sat with war veterans who, you know, for years hadn't smiled or hadn't spoken in some cases. And yet when Santa Claus walked through the door to their rooms, they actually said Ong Sam Noel, which is the Vietnamese for Father Christmas, because they remembered it from the war.
Wow.
And so this, you know, this day is like a complete, it just messed with my wiring, I think. And at the end of the day, they told us that one of the little girls was going to die. She was really sick and she had a few hours left, and that we should, you know, go and say our goodbyes before we left for the evening. And so I went into a room in the orphanage that I'd never been in before to see this little girl who I'd never met before. But something told me I was supposed to go into that room. And I lean over this crib, and I'm still dressed as Santa. I haven't taken anything off. And she puts her hand in my beard. And I watched her breathe. And it just dawned on me that everything I had in my life, she would be happy with.
Mm.
And right here she is, like a couple of hours left, and she's fighting for every breath. And 5 weeks later, I'm planning to stop breathing because I think I'm a failure, because I don't think I'm good enough, or that I'm lovable, or, you know, all these limiting beliefs that I had. I was holding onto them so strongly. And she was literally just breathing because she wanted to take another breath. And I breathed with her for a couple of minutes. I left the room, took a very deep breath. I was like, okay, if I'm not going down that route that I had planned so carefully and, you know, was convinced that's what I was supposed to do, what am I supposed to do now? And the one thing I had never been good at was asking for help. But I also knew, which I'm sure people can relate to, I also knew that I had got myself to this place. I couldn't get myself out of it. I was in that kind of constant cycle of negative thinking, limiting beliefs, finding evidence to support them, because that's all I saw. And I needed somebody to kind of like pull me out of the water, to guide me to a more positive way of thinking. And about 4 months before I had gone to Vietnam, I had actually been in LA learning how to be a speaker, because one of my mechanisms in the period in between making the decision and choosing the date was that nobody should know what I'm thinking. And so I still took personal development seminars. I was building a website. I had a speaker reel made, all of which were never going to see the light of day. I knew that. Nobody else knew that. And I had met an acting coach, success coach at this training who, Tina, I have to be really honest, I hated with a passion that I have never hated anything before in my life. This man rubbed me the wrong way from the very minute that I met him, and I wanted to be as far away as possible from him forever. And the night that little girl changed everything for me, I get back to my room in the guest house where we lived, and I only have one business card in my wallet.
And it's his.
And it's his. I also only have one book in my room.
And it's his.
And it's his. Now, his book is called Stop Acting and Start Living, which was profound enough that night anyway. And when I opened it and read inside, what he had written was, the bigger the dream, the better the life.
Ooh.
And so I asked him. I asked him for help. Now, I didn't tell him, and I wouldn't, you know, for anyone out there, I wouldn't recommend this as a way to go forward with a coach or anyone that you're asking for help. I didn't actually tell him how bad it was. I told him I needed help to be a better speaker, because that's how he would remember me. That's where I was when he first met me. And about 6 months after he and I started working together, I finally became open enough to share that story that I've just shared here in one of his classes. I had never intended to tell anybody. It was going to be the secret only I knew, locked away in the back of my head. Nobody would ever find out. And then a random question in a training exercise in a class with him, and it all came out. And from then on, I knew that the reason that I had gone through all this was to make sure that nobody else ever does. That my breakthrough in that room in Vietnam was to show me the power of being open about these struggles, that these things happen, so that other people, you know, in an ideal world would never burn out. But if they do, that there's help for them, that we have them, they're safe, and we can bring them back to a fulfilling life, no matter how dark it gets.
Mhm. Yeah. That's, I think that that is what we're starting to realize is the point in life. I went through so much, and then that's why I wrote my book. I wrote my book so that others could see what I've been through and how to get around it, how to search for the lesson within it, and really learn how to live life, to stop
Yeah,
being that victim, to stop being stuck in that negativity, but to breathe and then live, like to use
yes,
that breath
absolutely.
to launch you. What an amazing story. And
Thank you.
so that was five years ago that all that happened,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And so since you've gone through that and you've realized your reason to live, like this is my purpose,
Yeah.
what journey have you gone on now to change your life, to eliminate those limiting beliefs, to break through those barriers that were in front of you, and to say, I'm not letting anything hold me back anymore. I'm not letting anyone else control my life. I'm going to live for me. What steps have you taken?
So I went on a very interesting kind of healing journey in that, I had just come from the corporate world. I was used to corporate trainings and being labeled with every test and resource and everything. And actually, the first 18 months of my journey back, I was actually in acting classes,
Mm.
learning how to be authentic on stage. And learning, the biggest thing I took from it was learning how to dream.
Mm.
You don't dream in the corporate world, you know.
No.
I had never and I had seen the Simon Sinek TED Talk, Know Your Why or Start with Why, several times, and it just did not resonate with me at all until about maybe 2.5 years ago, when Your Reason to Breathe was founded. And actually, then it all made sense. That if you know what your reason to breathe is, everything else falls into place. The reason you make your decisions, because it goes towards that purpose, it goes towards that goal. And yeah, I mean, my journey was unusual in that it included parties at the Oscars, red carpets at film festivals. I'm the girl who, you know, takes a while to get ready because she's probably just burnt her ear with the hair straighteners, or has mascaraed her eyeball. I mean, I was that bad. My first film festival, I had to have makeup lessons before I went. It's like, what do I do? Like, where am I supposed to put this? And what's this brush for? It really was like so far out of my comfort zone that, for 6 days, every single night, be red carpet ready. I was like, pajamas, sweatpants, and here we're talking Spanx and dresses. Um, but I also worked with amazing people from different places who have dreams that statistically don't make sense. Everybody wants to win an Oscar. Well,
Mm-hmm.
statistically, you can probably win a lottery more easily than you will win the Oscar, but they will dream about it and they will do everything to make that dream happen. And that
Mm-hmm.
was the piece that was missing for me. That drive to make your dreams come true, that push to make connections and, be seen. I mean, I was a public speaker who did not like to be seen. That was where I
That
started from.
that is so interesting. So, if you were a public speaker that did not like to be seen, how did you make that shift? What was
So
so powerful that made you change?
the day I first told that story, the I tell the story. I'm surrounded by people who have already told their answer to the question, and the question was, what did you learn this week? So it wasn't even like a profound question that would make you dig up your soul and, literally spew out your innermost secrets. It was, what did you do this? What did you learn this week? And suddenly my whole story comes out.
Mm.
I was like, wow, like never expected to tell that to anybody. And now I've said it in public. Like, I can't take that back now. And two girls who had already spoken went back onto the stage. One admitted to abuse and another to an eating disorder. And both of them then got the help that they needed. And that was the moment I realized how powerful being seen was, even if it wasn't comfortable for me to be seen. And it was still a journey, and it still is to this day. You know, being visible, you know, being on podcasts, stages with lights and cameras and all that, that's still not a huge comfort zone. But me on the stage is me in my element. Mm-hmm. Me having to do marketing and calls and selling, no, that's not me in my zone of genius at all. But you realize that that's just a means to you being able to help people and change people's lives by, you know, if I talk, somebody who needs help may just get the message that they need to hear.
So what do you teach people in regards to overcoming burnout, in regards to overcoming stress? Like, how do you take someone who is burdened by stress and sees no way out to the other side of hope and victory and triumph?
So we don't make any decisions about their life until they are in a happier place. So number one thing is it's called priority happy. That we actually encourage people to start building time back in their lives for things that make them smile, things that make them laugh, because the body is built to heal from stress. It has everything we need internally if we just give it the space to actually do what it does naturally. And one of those things is, you know, we get them to write a list of things that they may no longer be doing but used to make them happy. So I did the exercise, I think it was like 2 weeks after the Christmas, and I wrote down, I love to read, I love to take pictures, I love sunset, and then kind of went, well, I haven't read a book in 3 years. I haven't taken my camera out of its case for at least a year, and I haven't seen sunset since I've been here in Vietnam. And that was, by that point, I'd been there for like 2 months. And slowly just build those back in. So suddenly, you know, I went from, I was reading a chapter a day to I was reading 30 minutes a day. And I know when I've got stressed, because the reading is the first thing that goes. So when a book's been on my bedside table for a couple of weeks, I have to make a concerted effort to put the reading back in, because that is my stress reliever. Once people are in a better place, they're smiling more, they feel more positive, that's when we look at where do they want to go. So we find their reason to breathe and look at designing their life around it. Now, it's not always about becoming an entrepreneur from the corporate world. Some people are meant to be in the corporate world. That's where they are best. They just might not be in the right corporation, or they're in exactly the right company. They're just not in the right job within that company. And so it's really finding that mix of what makes somebody kind of breathe, put a smile on their face, and how do we then build a life around every day having that in it, rather than once in a full moon.
Right. I never even thought about that. Just those simple tasks of what makes you happy, just inserting them in. Like, that's so simple, but why would that be so hard to just think about?
Well, I always go back to my story. When I got stressed, when I was in that, when I was burning out, I thought I just needed to be busy, because busy took care of time, really. And actually, the things that became negotiable in my life were the very things that I needed to be doing more of. So I had socially isolated from my friends and family. I didn't accept invitations to do anything. And slowly people stop asking you to join you for dinner or come to the cinema because they know you're going to say no.
Absolutely.
So they don't want to be embarrassed. You don't feel great about saying no, but you really can't say yes. And it is all these little things that just add up. You don't burn out overnight.
Right.
It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, a lot of the things, so we've identified 15 factors around what are burnout factors. And actually, just sleeping properly, hydrating properly, moving, being happy can actually reset the majority of those so your body can do its natural healing process.
Well, that makes sense because those are, I mean, your brain needs to literally go into sleep mode for 8 hours before it can start to reset itself, heal itself, and process all the information it took on throughout the day. Also, your body is 70% water, and it's been proven that if you are lacking in water, your brain can't function correctly. So if you're dehydrated, this isn't working, and you're going to get stressed and burned out. So those two things make complete sense. And you said the third one was what? It flew out of my mind.
Moving.
Moving. Okay. And that gets your endorphins up, your serotonin levels up, and reduces your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. So all of those make so much sense. I don't know, because are you in the UK area?
Yeah.
So in the United States, when you get diagnosed with cancer, one of the very first things they do is say move 30 minutes a day. If you can just start to move 30 minutes a day, and that truly does remove the toxins, both mental and physical toxins out of your body. So those three things are so simple, and that's something that anybody can do. Schedule 8 hours of sleep, get lots of water, and move. Like with my clients, I always say, the very first question I ask when I get a new client, how much sleep do you get? And they're like, oh, about 3 to 4 hours, 6 hours. I'm like, that needs to change. That's your very first homework task. 8 hours of sleep minimum. You have to get 8 hours of sleep. So, I mean, yeah, when you're burned out, when you're stressed, if you can do nothing else.
When I burnt out, I was getting 1 to 2 hours a night.
Yeah. Yeah. I know with me, so I ended up in 2015 having a mental breakdown due to my job. And I was working 80 hours a week and running my business and raising my 3 children that were all under 10. And total burnout right there, because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating correctly, I wasn't drinking correctly, because I was just trying to satisfy my boss's demands. So yeah, I completely get that. Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you had, what is the top 3 nuggets that you can give to the viewers of how to change their perspective, break through their limiting beliefs, and prevent burnout from happening in their lives?
The first one for me is that you have to be a part of your life. And you have to be a priority in your life. So whether you are working 80 hours a week at a corporate job, or you're working 80 hours a week as an entrepreneur so that you don't have to work 40 hours a week at a corporate job, you have to make sure that there is time for you to have the life that makes you happy. Not that you just work and sleep and commute. And if you find that you are not, actually part of that equation, then that's the bit to put back. Every single day, there should be something that's non-negotiable for you that is you. And taking it even further, that it is you, not you in a couple, you in a family, you with your children, that actually there is you on your schedule, and that it is as non-negotiable as anything your boss might ask you to do.
Wow.
That's usually the hardest piece.
Yeah. Because I'll definitely put myself aside if I need to fulfill a role at work. Yeah.
The second one is really about breathing. And actually just taking the time to take a deep breath. So wherever you are, whether you've just left a meeting, or you're having a toilet break, or you're just going outside for lunch, is actually to take 5 to 10 deep breaths. Because the calming effect of taking a deep breath tells your body that you're safe, and your body stops producing cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
If you're running around trying to do everything, juggling 10 balls in the air at the same time, your body is continually in that fight or flight methodology. You know, we have the same genetic makeup as we did when we were cavemen. Fight, flight, or freeze was the genetic answer to being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or a mammoth or something that could actually kill us. Cavemen didn't run away from tigers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They did it for probably about 10, 15 minutes, or however close the nearest tree was. And then they would sit up that tree until the tiger went away. Now, their heart might still have been racing a little bit up that tree, but they were definitely breathing properly. And they stopped and just let the body chill out. Mm-hmm. And that's what we don't do anymore. We are using a mechanism in our bodies that was built for sprints, built for single moments of danger to actually run our whole lives. And we don't have any of these pieces in between. And it's one of the reasons why the body produces cortisol, or it produces the happy hormones. It cannot do both at the same time because they use the same ingredients. And so your body is either producing one or the other. And by giving ourselves that break, either deep breath, laughing, smiling, being happy, those are the things that allow us to go, today we are making dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. And that's what we're concentrating on.
Mm. Those are good. One more. Give me one more.
And then the final piece is laughing. So, you know, we all have mobile phones. We can all carry a burnout first aid kit with us. On your phone, make a playlist of music that makes you want to dance or sing. Have a playlist on YouTube of whatever makes you happy, smile, laugh till your sides hurt. And then have a folder of photos for your heart with love. And then no matter what has gone wrong in the world, just pick one. You know, there is a comedian who, as soon as he starts talking, I start laughing. Like, he doesn't even get into the first joke, and I'm already smiling. I'm smiling about it, telling you about this guy. But I have like 3 or 4 of his videos that I know make me cry with laughter. Best cure for a bad meeting or a bad phone call: just stop, put on the video, and take 2 or 3 minutes to laugh.
Mm. You always feel good after a good laugh.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for taking time out of your day to spend with us today and just giving us your knowledge. If someone wants to work with you, if they're like, I resonate with Sarah, I know she can help me. She's been through similar things that I'm going through right now. I need her in my life. Where can they find you?
So I have a Facebook page called Your Reason to Breathe. We have tips and insights and videos on there for helping people with mental health and burnout. We also have a website by the same name, Your Reason to Breathe, breathe with an E on the end. We have a quiz on there for people called Are You Burning Out? And it's 15 questions. Yes, no, very much like a cosmopolitan quiz. You know, if you scored 0 to 3, you are fairly balanced. Congratulations. Up to, you probably need to take some action. It's a good way to just understand where you are. I know that when I was fully burnt out, I was ticking 14 out of 15 of these factors. And it was only 14 because I didn't know about number 15. And I do it every couple of months just to check in where I am. And so, yeah, they can reach me through the website.
That's awesome. And her information will be down below too. So if you watch this episode and later on you're like, oh crap, I forgot where to find her, you can just come back to this on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, click on the comments below, and all her information will be there. So Sarah, thank you so much for giving us your energy today. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching another episode of the Belief Breakthrough Show. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so and click on the little bell so that you are reminded every single time that we go live. We so appreciate you. If you are wanting to be a part of a community with like-minded people that are working on themselves to better themselves and grab the life that they dream of, please join our Facebook group.